Today's topic is Chapter 4 Planning, page number 95. We have a box in Chapter 4 Planning, that is GAIL, Gas Authority of India Limited, which has had a monopoly in the gas transmission sector, is set to see some tough competition in the coming days. While Reliance is poised to get into the trunk pipeline segment, British Gas is trying to get into the city gas distribution sector. GAIL's new chairman shares his thoughts on how he plans to take the company ahead. What are GAIL's main priorities? What are GAIL's plans for acquiring an exploration and a production company abroad, E&P company abroad? And what are the plans on city gas distribution? Will GAIL continue with its plans on fuel management? What are GAIL's plans to diversify into telecom? And what is the current status? By going through these points, we can understand that the plans of Gas Authority of India Limited GAIL. It is one of our leading public sector companies. The plans discussed by the chairperson GAIL are real plans of the company and how they would like to go about achieving their objectives. Of course, these are broad statements given by the company and they have to be broken down into steps for implementation. This is an example of a company in the public sector with a nationwide reach striving to be one of the top companies in India. Further, every organization, whether it's a government-owned, a privately owned business, or a company in the private sector, requires planning. The government makes 5-year plans for the country. A small business has its own plans, while other companies have big plans, sales plans, production plans, and all of them have some kind of plans. So all business firms would like to be successful, to increase their sales and earn profits. All managers dream of these and strive to achieve their goals. But to turn these dreams into reality, managers need to work hard in thinking about the future, in making business predictions and achieving targets. Dreams can be turned into reality only if business managers think in advance on what to do and how to do it. This is the essence of planning. The process of management consists of various functions like planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. POSTC. Out of that, planning is the first and foremost function of management. It provides basis for all other managerial functions. In fact, all organizations, whether it's a government or private enterprise, big or small business unit, planning is required to achieve organizational objectives. So what's the meaning of planning? We understood the relevance of planning and some examples also. What's the meaning of planning? Write the heading and underline. Planning is the primary function of management and involves thinking in advance regarding what is to be done, etc. Before starting any task, every manager formulates strategies of how to do that particular task. Thus, planning bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go to. So, planning is deciding in advance about work to be done in future. It involves establishment of objectives and developing an appropriate course of action to achieve these objectives. These objectives provide the basis for all managerial decisions and actions. Also, the organizations are directed towards achieving these objectives. Thus, in short, it can be said that planning is concerned with both ends and means. Ends and means. Please underline that value word. We can learn now one definition of planning. Define planning. According to M.E. Hurley, H-U-R-L-E-Y, planning is deciding in advance what is to be done. It involves the selection of objectives, policies, procedures, and programs from among alternatives. Planning is deciding in advance what is to be done. It involves the selection of objectives, policies, procedures, programs among alternatives. Please note it down, this definition. and learn it. So from this we can understand the features of planning. So what is planning and what are the features of planning? Please make a question and make a flow chart comprising 7 columns. Correspondingly 2 pages coming, it will be easier to learn at a glance. First of all, planning focuses on objectives and it is the primary function and it is pervasive all levels and all organizations, and planning is a continuous process and it is futuristic and it is for decision making and it is a mental exercise. So first of all, objectives, secondly primary functions, pervasive, continuous, futuristic, decision making and mental exercise. Like that 7 columns, make it and learn it. And we can explain these value points. Planning focuses on achieving objectives. Yes, it's a goal-oriented process which helps in defining objectives and preparation of necessary action plans. Goal-oriented, necessary action plans. Thus, planning is focused on clarifying what is to be done and how is that to be done. The planning holds no purpose if it does not focus on achievement of preset organizational or corporate objective. Secondly, planning is a primary function of management. Every management starts with a planning. All other functions like organizing, staffing, directing and controlling are based on planning. It precedes the execution of all other managerial functions and allows managers to organize, staff, direct and control the activities in a better way so as to achieve organizational goals. All the activities are created in such a way that plans are easily carried out. This is also referred to as primacy of planning. Primacy of planning. Thirdly, planning is pervasive. That is, planning is not only the top management function or any particular department. Planning is required at all levels of management and in all departments of an organization. So the scope and nature of planning is different at different levels and in different departments. For example, top management lays down the plans for the organization as a whole. Middle level management has to make plans for each department, and the plans regarding the daily operations of an organization are laid down by operational management. Planning is a continuous process. Planning process begins with the establishment of an organization and continue as long as the enterprise is in existence. It is to be performed in all situations and at all levels of work. All levels of work. Planning is done for a specific time period, and when that period is about to get over, the need arises to formulate another plan for the new period. Also, due to dynamic business environment, continuous changes are required to be made in the existing plans. Hence, planning is a continuous process. If plans are made during a boom period and executed during a depression period, corresponding changes need to be made in the plans with due respect to the latest prevailing conditions. The planning is futuristic. Planning is always for future and never for the past. It involves peeping into the future, analyzing and preparing plan for it accordingly. It is forward-looking, function based on forecasting, FORECASTING, in which plans are drawn after anticipating future events. This planning is futuristic as it helps in meeting future events effectively and efficiently to the best advantage of the organization. For example, on the basis of sales forecasting, annual plans for production and sales are drawn. Planning involves decision making. Planning is essentially a process of making choice from various alternatives. There will be no need for planning if there is only one course of action. Hence, need for extended planning depends on availability of alternatives. A manager, after examining and evaluating the various alternatives, chooses the most appropriate one. Planning is a mental exercise. Explain. Planning is an intellectual activity requiring application of the mind, imagination, and sound judgment. It's a thinking function rather than a doing function, as it determines the actions to be taken. Moreover, Planning requires logical and systematic thinking based on the analysis of facts and forecasts. It requires thinking about what, how, when, and by whom, etc. Decision making requires competency, ability, and experience. Thus, planning is a mental or thinking or intellectual process. Now we got the question. Tell me, define planning with a case study example and what are the features of planning. Okay, thank you.